Sun ejects massive flare headed towards the Earth, arrives Tuesday and Wednesday. Everyone, Johnny here, don't speak news. Well, they're speaking about this one, and it's kind of hard to ignore, as this new coronal hole, or all these coronal holes have formed into one now, and it's 20 times the size of the Earth. Isn't that something? So the Solar Astronomy Laboratory of the Institute of Space Research of the Russian Academy of Sciences recorded a powerful solar flare, which is assigned the highest score of X 1.1. The explosion occurred almost exactly on the Sun-Earth line in the area of maximum impact on the planet. Yep, and guess what, guys? It's going to get wilder from here, as we are in the tribulation hour. We're at the end. We're almost at the very end. The flare was accompanied by a large ejection of plasma masses toward the Earth. Today, several coronal holes have merged into one giant one, as I just showed you, which is 20 times the size of the Earth. The flows from it, according to calculations, will reach the Earth by Tuesday, Wednesday. Scientists warn that magnetic storms may cause problems with radio communications, the operation of Earth satellites, and electric grids planet-wide. Yes. So, once again, guys, prayed up and prepped up at all times. Make sure your generators are good and running and ready to go for tomorrow and maybe the next day. And, of course, right after this, we have the eclipse, so who knows what's going to happen then. So just keep prepping, keep praying, no fear. Doctors recommend not to tire yourself with physical activity on such days. Monitor your blood pressure, get enough sleep, and eat right. Foods rich in magnesium and potassium will help cope with the negative effects of magnetic storms. And yes, because they can deplete you of magnesium and potassium, just as my candida overgrowth has been doing, which we'll talk about later. But there we go. That's what's coming tomorrow, starting tomorrow. Then we have this from Hal Turner as well. Something's up. Another city declares an emergency over this April 8th solar eclipse. This time it's Niagara Falls in Canada. They declared a state of emergency for April 8th as 1 million people are expected to flood the area. The Ontario side of the Falls has started to prepare for the expected influx in visitors coming to see the total total eclipse in early April. Solar, not social. The famous falls have been listed by National Geographic as one of the best places to see the eclipse, a phenomenon not seen in the area since 1979. The city is within the path where the moon will entirely block the sun for a few minutes. So, but see, the thing is, we had the same thing happen back in 2017 where, the sun was completely blacked out, just in a different path, of course, as it crisscrossed the other side of the U.S. But the point is, they didn't have all these states of emergency. Niagara Falls, Bell County, Texas, Travis County, Texas, Kaufman County, they issued a disaster declaration. He said they expect the population of 200,000 to double, and they say that they can't handle it in one quick spurt like that, so they're all declaring these disasters and emergencies everywhere. And they expect cell networks to go down, internet networks, because everyone will be streaming and stuff all at the same time. Grocery stores, of course, will be under extreme pressure because of all the extra people. Gas stations may run out of fuel and all of this. Indiana. He's the governor there has declared a disaster order, letting Indiana call on a nationwide aid compact should the upcoming eclipse stress the state's emergency response systems. New York State, same thing. And Hal Turner's commentary, I tend to agree with. The states, cities, counties, and towns mentioned above are just a small sampling of what's been going on to prepare for this eclipse. Sorry, but none of this seems normal to me at all. I don't think so either. There's something else behind this. Plus, you have CERN firing up on that day. You have NASA firing 3 rockets into it that day. Okay, so it's a high occult holiday or an event for them too. They think it's going to bring about their God, their Antichrist, that'll come to rule with them. That's what they're thinking, but that's for a different video. But yes, we could see grocery stores running out of food. And of course, we already have the disaster declarations, gas stations running out of fuel. And like Hal says, something else may be going on, but what? Well, we don't know exactly. We don't know. But maybe with the sun blocks, people may be able to see things in the sky they otherwise wouldn't be able to see because the sunlight's so strong and blocks the view of things in space. Could it be that something else is going on? Maybe something that people will suddenly be able to see once the sun is blocked for a few minutes. Might people panic over what they see? Possibly. Planet X, Are they going to stage their fake invasion? Hard to say. But like Hal says here, when I read that New York State has had a task force working for the past 17 months, that kind of sealed the deal over my suspicions. It seems to me that absolutely nobody does something like that over an eclipse. No, they sure didn't last time around. I'm getting a little creeped out by all these disaster declarations. All this for just a solar eclipse? Sorry, I won't buy it. I won't either. I'll tell you what I will do. I'll top off my emergency food, water, medicine, communications gear, CB, and ham radio, and stay close to home. In fact, Hal's wife and him agreed to, over the weekend, they'll be at their bug-out location for the eclipse. Not to see it, but to be away from the New York metro area. Exactly. Yeah, maybe time for Lisa and I, my wife and I, to take a little trip too. Maybe get the heck out of the Spokane area, but we're kind of out of town anyway, but still. I'm going to pray about it and see what the Lord wants me to do. Because something's definitely up, like it says here. Too many cities doing too many weird things. And then we have, and just look at the path this thing is on. I know you guys have probably seen this already, the Olive Tav and all that, but all the Ninevehs. Nineveh, Texas, Nineveh, Missouri, Nineveh, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, all Ninevehs. Then we have the Salem, Texas, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, New Hampshire, and Vermont, excuse me. And the other strange town names, such as Nimrod, Arkansas, and the alchemy associated with April 8th, Aleister Crowley. And CERN is set to reactivate, as we said, on April 8th. Then we have the Devil's Comet that will appear during the eclipse. And NASA's APE program will be researching the eclipse, firing rockets like we talked about. Quite the number of coincidences surround both the date and the eclipse itself. Not saying anything will happen on 4/8, but keep your eyes peeled and remain prayed up. I agree. I completely agree. Remain prayed up and prepped up at all times, just like we always say. God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. So keep that in mind. And China's been warning citizens and their citizens in the USA prepare for various unexpected situations. So what are they warning their citizens about? What do they know that the American people do not know? I mean, there's so many things going on during this time period. Wow. And of course, we know in Matthew 24, Jesus said that the coming of the Son of Man will be just like the days of Noah. And what was it like then? Well, Genesis 6 says the earth was corrupt in the sight of God, and the earth was filled with violence. And we know a big part of that was because of the Nephilim, the offspring of angels and human females mating, but that's beside the point. The point now is, have you noticed the increase in violence all across the land? Yeah, I sure have. In fact, let's take a look at this. Where is that article I was looking for? Hang on one second. Let me find it. At least 7 shot, all under the age of 17, in a mass shooting near the Indianapolis Mall. And guys, I've noticed a trend over the last, I would say, year to 2 years in particular. A lot of these shootings are involving kids shooting kids. 7 here, all under the age of 17 in a mass shooting. And if you look, it's like that all over the place. Just do a simple Google search, kids shot under 17 years old, and you'll find all kinds of results here. And from a month ago, 22 hours ago, a year ago, a month ago, just 3 days ago. And as you can see, you could go on and on with those types of headlines. Kids killing kids. The red horse is definitely riding, taking peace from the earth, just as Revelation said. But it's not just war between nations or ethnic groups. It's war, it's peace from the earth, meaning people are going to be fighting each other too. Like we see here, kids killing kids. It's horrible, but we're in the tribulation. This is just another sign. And I think it's going to get worse as this eclipse gets closer. Like along with everything else, we're going to see more earthquakes, more volcanoes going off. Everything is increasing in frequency and intensity and has been for the last 7 years in particular. And of course, the lawlessness and the apostasy, the hypocrisy, it's everywhere. And of course, them calling it Transgender Recognition Day on Easter Sunday. It was something else that stirred everybody up. But that's what it's designed to do, stir everybody up. Easter's another name for Ishtar. It was a fertility celebration, a spring equinox ritual that they blended with Christianity way back when. So it's not something I got upset about because I knew that's what they wanted me to do. That's what they want all of us to do when they do those types of things. They want to create all kinds of outrage and divisions, shouting back and forth. Guys, America's under judgment, and this is just part of it. God's giving us over to our apathy. The church just sat on their hands and did nothing for all these decades. And they started preaching a message that tickled everybody's ears. And now we have everything that we have. God's given us over to it. So and now we're going to talk about the Francis Scott Key Bridge again. Now here's a story, guys, that I'm going to cover because it just shows this is clearly an act of war, along with what I showed you last week. And I'll tell you something. Let's go to don'tspeaknews.com here real quick, because I want to show you this story right here. The Baltimore Bridge destruction, accident or sabotage, where I was showing you the thermite charges and all that in that video. They absolutely blasted my website, attacked this article in particular, and they kept shutting off the videos. They kept setting it to private. And of course, WordPress doesn't know what's going on because they can just slip in and out with their quantum computers and they'll never know that they were there. And so for all of you who say they can't do that, think again, because they never can find out who's doing it to me. I sent them the screenshots and everything, and they just sit there dumbfounded. Anyway, now I updated this article. There's 2 minutes missing from the black box on board the ship. Conveniently, it's the 2 minutes right before the crash. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. But like I said, this article and this story is something they don't want getting out. Otherwise, they would not be messing with my website. Not when I've only got, 300 and some subscribers? Really? I'm just a small fry, but I must be over the target, because they sure like to mess with this site all the time now. So what I had to do was delete my video, or the video that I uploaded directly to the site, and then embed the one from BitChute. Even the Rumble video would not embed on my website this time. Just saying. Don't trust Rumble either. They do a lot of censoring of their own. So some of these stories of the attacks are just downright horrific. Even closer to home, you can feel the darkness all around. From road rage getting worse to people becoming just downright mean and hateful these days. And you have to wonder, guys, what's going to happen with this massive solar flare? How's it going to affect the people who have been jabbed that have all kinds of graphene oxide and heavy metals in their body now that weren't there before? How's it going to affect them? Just saying. It's something to keep our eyes on, because that's one of the reasons people are getting hostile now. It's going across the blood-brain barrier, and it's affecting their very psyche, their very souls. It's also the mark of the beast. So Jesus tells us in Matthew 24:37, the days will be like what it will be like as we get closer to his second coming, the days of Noah. And I just showed you what that was like. The earth was filled with violence. Jesus continued to talk about it in Matthew 24:12, because lawlessness abounds and will increase, that many people's love will grow cold. And we've seen that everywhere right now, too. The world's not getting better, guys. It's getting worse as we get towards the end of everything. The end of this age is upon us. And this total solar eclipse is just another sign of that. So be ready. Be ready. But back to that story at hand here. If you're one of those people who think that the sudden and shocking collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore might not have been a top-secret military operation of some kind, carried out by enemies from the outside or enemies of America from within, we suggest you take a look at a whole bunch of news stories that have come out over the past several days, including this one over at the website The War Zone, titled, "Two of the Fastest U.S. Sea Lift Ships Trapped by Baltimore Bridge Collapse," which featured this lead-in sentence to the story: "The blocked entrance to the port of Baltimore has stranded a total of 4 cargo ships that are on call to support U.S. military operations." How convenient, right? With that war zone story discussed in the first video at the bottom of this story by the videographer MonkeyWorks US, causing what this new Zero Hedge story called a huge problem for the Pentagon's Rapid Wartime Response Team, as ANP contributor Alan Barton had written in a comment under Bart's bantering that port is not a major one as far as economic materials go. Los Angeles is by far the largest in the U.S., but it's a very strategic military center. Indeed it is. As Alan also pointed out in his comment, with this massive collapse bringing with it major stoppages and problems, just as we're going into World War III, we'll strongly agree with this main point of his comment. This is just another thing that proves this was sabotage, not an accident. And just when we thought there couldn't be any more problems with that entire mess, we get this Zero Hedge story titled, Baltimore Bridge Collapse, Container Ship Potentially Atop High-Pressure Underwater Gas Line, proving once again that the problems with this mess have only just begun. Yeah, this is bad, very bad, because any high-pressure gas pipeline being struck could bring about a catastrophe instantly. And it just so happens that the weight of the steel concrete pinning down the bow of the vessel is estimated to be 3,000 to 4,000 tons, not to mention the weight of all the containers on the ship that were being transported. So the image seen above from the National Pipeline Mapping Systems database shows that Conrad is correct. That Conrad is correct about an underwater natural gas pipeline under the bridge. The exact location of the line could vary greatly with the width of the bridge and more than 1.5 miles long, so it'll be up to the experts being called in to find out exactly where that line runs to make sure there are no further complications. They're saying that time is always a factor in salvage operations, with weather conditions near the top of the list of concerns. The more time an operation takes, the greater the possibility of a low-pressure system moving in and doing further damage. So the salvation, you need salvation in order to survive all this. Salvation in Christ. But the salvage operation has been put on hold. Despite the clock's importance, expert salvage teams such as Resolve will not jeopardize worker and environmental safety, and two critical factors have indefinitely paused the salvage efforts. The main reason for the delay is the ongoing search and recovery mission. Sources from the Joint Incident Command Center told G Captain that intense political interest driven by extensive media coverage is putting pressure on the command leadership and salvage masters to speed up the process. However, the salvage teams have emphasized they will not rush and cannot work safely while the search and recovery efforts for 4 missing bridge workers are still ongoing. So what needs to be priority number 1, the looming problem right now, is who's in charge? Really, that is kind of a problem. There's an election coming in November. There's too many players, too many people, too much posturing. Indeed. The situation presents challenges. However, sources inform G Captain the salvage companies are navigating around political concerns and have refused to rush the efforts. I'll let you read the rest on your own, but how long is it going to take, guys? How long will U.S. military shipping be affected by all this, too? This was a very strategic hit by whoever was behind it. And like I said before, very possibly an inside job, because they sure didn't want us talking about it on my website. They just kept disabling this video nonstop. Every time I put it back up, they'd take it down. It was unreal last Friday. But like I said, that just proves that we're over the target, because this website isn't very big. We don't have that big of a reach. So for them to keep messing with it tells me we're definitely over the target. So, all right. Well, there's my security report for the month. We'll skip that and move along. Okay, back to the website. In case you're not aware, I put this up yesterday, or wait, Saturday, excuse me, because I finally figured out what's been wrong with my guts this whole time. It's been Candida overgrowth. It's a fungus, not a bacteria, like we originally thought. I think it's maybe one of the most underdiagnosed conditions of all time. So, after over 2 years of prayer, going to doctors and specialists, and doing hundreds of hours of research on my own, I finally know what's made me sick over the past 2 years. Candida fungus overgrowth in my guts. And now that I'm not feeding it with any kind of yeast or any kind of sugars, so yes, the Feast of Unleavened Bread couldn't have come at a better time for me. But nonetheless, I have got the symptoms back under control now. And really, they only hit me hard in the mornings or if I eat something I shouldn't. So the problem is it's going to get worse before it gets better. And all of the herbal supplements and everything I'm taking to kill it, well, it fights back. And so my symptoms are going to get worse from time to time, like they did this morning and yesterday morning, because it's fighting me. And it has double-walled cells, so it's a tough little bugger. But it's a fungal overgrowth, not a bacterial one, and actually antibiotics can make it worse. So I put a lot of information about what I've been going through in this particular article. And then I also put this video up here by Dr. Osborne, because I've done all the research I've done and the videos I've watched. This one is probably one of the best. It's about 20 minutes long, or the first half's about 20 minutes. It really gives you a good crash course on what this is, what the symptoms are, and then, of course, how to deal with it. So, very good video. I suggest you watch if you're having similar issues. If you're having gut problems and they just can't seem to figure out why. And, of course, there's other symptoms, too. Different types of this yeast overgrowth, such as on the nails, on the tongue, and so forth. They call that thrush. So I didn't have those. I definitely had the gut, the gas, the bloating, and then the mood swings it can create. Oh my gosh, I did some research into that the last couple of days. It causes brain fog. You can feel like you're drunk because it manufactures its own alcohol. And mood swings, anger, anxiety, all kinds of stuff. It just completely follows up your psyche too, because it follows up your hormones. I mean, it really screws up your whole and your immune system too. I've been very blessed not to have been really sick, much sicker than I have been through all this. So God's grace has gotten me through it. God's grace is what's given me the answer, because the doctors could not. And like I said, I've been giving thanks to God nonstop for showing me these answers, because I wasn't getting them anywhere else. Not one of the doctors or specialists I saw ever suggested that Candida could be the cause. And they should have been looking for it, since I had a lot of the classic symptoms, including gas and bloating. But I think what threw them off was maybe my constant belching that was uncontrollable, because that's not a common symptom, but symptoms manifest differently in everyone. So if you're having problems like I've had and your doctors can't seem to figure it out, suggest this and look into it and get tested for it. So just thought I'd share that with you guys quick. If you want to know more about how I dealt with it or how I am dealing with it, then just let me know in the comments or some emails. And if you want to email or contact me right here or subscribe to the channel, click this tab right here. Subscribe, contact Johnny. Then type in your email, click subscribe, and you'll be notified every time there's a new blog post or a video. And then if you'd like to support us, you can do that here under channel support. We have a monthly support option. And we have, of course, all the other options like PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and so on. I want to thank everybody who supported us at the end of last month, because we scraped by the skin of our teeth, but we will be around another month, God willing. So we'll see what happens this coming month, because it's going to be a wild ride. But financially, we squeaked by, but we're still in need. So if you'd like to support us, that's the tab to do it from. Then YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble, right up here. These are all the different locations where you can find us. Of course, YouTube I have to use on a limited basis, because if I talk about the bridge sabotage, even that now is getting flagged, for example. And of course, we definitely know we can't talk about the vaccines and all that there. So I don't know how often I'll be using YouTube, but it is there. And what I have been doing lately is just putting a notification saying, hey, new video's up at the website. So there you go. That's what I've been using it mainly for. But I have been putting some stuff and some older stuff up there. Then we have Telegram, BitChute, Rumble. I've also got Don't Speak History, Don't Speak Health, and I'm also on Substack, where I share on the notes page over there. So those are the places you can find us. And of course, here at don'tspeaknews.com. And that's it for now. God bless, take care, stay ready. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.